All right, welcome to the Hoosier Huddle podcast. I'm Sammy Jacobs. Along with me, special guest Emily Ehman, and we're here to talk about Indiana Volleyball. They're off to a hot start at 14-2. We'll see where they come out in the rankings this afternoon. I am still out on the West Coast after Indiana's big win over at Oregon, enjoying the it's not sunny, whatever weather this is on the Pacific Northwest. But Indiana Volleyball 14-2. Suffered their first Big Ten loss on Sunday, but Emily, college volleyball has exploded onto the scene kind of in tandem with women's basketball. But take us through the growth of the sport.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, so excited to chat with you about, everything volleyball, especially Indiana. But yeah, I mean, NCAA volleyball and just volleyball in general at all levels has exploded over the past few seasons, and that's top to bottom. So in terms of, matches on TV, the number has tripled in the last about 10 years. The viewership is insane. Every time it feels like we get reports back for any network, whether that's Big Ten Network, ESPN, Fox, NBC, any network that has invested in volleyball is seeing a crazy growth in viewership. Every time I open my phone, I feel like I'm seeing view records shattered, which has been really cool. And then you look at actually what's happening at the schools. And we've seen a crazy number of attendance records broken over the last few seasons as well. You take the COVID season aside and in 2020 and 2021, and the attendance at every school has gotten bigger and bigger. We're seeing events happen in different kinds of arenas. So for example, a lot of matches now being played in big basketball arenas, similar to how Indiana and Purdue are playing at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Thursday. We've seen, Nebraska move games to Pinnacle Bank Arena. We've seen Wisconsin move games to the Kohl Center. All around, programs are trying to get more butts in seats because the growth of the sport has been insane. And over the last few years, for me at least covering it, it's been so fun to be a part of because every season it feels like the sport is just growing more and more.
And it seems like the Big Ten is the preeminent conference in college volleyball with Nebraska, Penn State, Wisconsin, UCLA is in there as well. Just with high school volleyball in the state of Indiana too becoming bigger, and you have the was it the Ignite, the pro
Yeah.
volleyball team up in Fishers. Just how's the health of the sport going forward? From it's not just a superstar here and there, but just a really big following on a sport that's fun, like it's fun to watch, and it's not going to take.
Yeah.
It's not baseball that takes 5.5 hours or football that takes 4 hours. Some of these matches
Yeah.
go an hour and a half, and things like that. But it's just how enjoyable is it to see the sport just explode?
Oh, it's been so much fun. I've been playing volleyball since I can remember, since I was about 8 or 9. And to see the sport now versus where it was when I started playing is crazy. There's two professional volleyball leagues happening in tandem, kind of a third if you count Athletes Unlimited, which is in, but two real professional leagues are happening during the winter. You mentioned the Indy Ignite being part of one of those leagues. That has been something that we've never seen. Two leagues working in tandem. We've seen professional volleyball leagues in the US before, but none of them really stuck. And we're seeing massive investment in these leagues as well. Over $100 million investment from either team to team or league as a whole. So it's been really cool to see, other people and entities and companies really invest in the sport as well. And the health of the sport is amazing right now. It keeps getting better and better. Our national team is coming off of, a phenomenal performance in the last Olympics. And of course they won gold the Olympics before. So it's been really fun to see the sport absolutely explode. Again, you look at the highest possible level with the Olympic team, you look at the college level, and yeah, more players are playing in high school than ever before too, which is really exciting.
Let's get to Indiana's season so far. They started off really hot. I mean, they're 14-2. They really haven't cooled off, but they went down to Miami. They lost the first two sets there and then won, I think, 15 sets in a row and just went on a real roll until they played Western Kentucky. What is making this team go, and just what kind of program is Steve Air building down in Bloomington?
I mean, Indiana's in the best spot that we've seen Indiana volleyball be in. They got off to their best start of Big Ten play in program history, which is a lot to say for one of the toughest conferences in volleyball. It's fun because they were picked to finish 11th in the Big Ten. Expectations for this program were not that high after losing some really big names, players like Cam Hayworth, who, was at the setting position for 4 seasons. They lost their libero, Ramsey Gary, who was one of the best in the country, and 2 pin hitters as well. But bringing in a top 14 recruiting class, which is the highest recruiting class in program history, says a lot about Steve Aird bringing in continuously bringing in really good players and having them gel right away, which is really difficult, especially in today's age. Players, they want to play right away. Some of them happy, and you bring in transfers and whatever, and it's difficult to get your team really firing from the jump. That's exactly what Steve Aird was able to do with this Indiana program, and bringing 8 incoming players in with 7 freshmen. A lot of those who are getting playing time, typically freshmen aren't really ready to go right away in any sport. It's really difficult to step in and make a difference. But, right now, Indiana has phenomenal freshmen that have done a really good job. Jaden Jager, freshman outside. She's one of the best right now freshmen in the entire Big Ten. Definitely a front runner for freshman of the year right now. Victoria Gray in the middle, Teodora Krichkovich setting, and 2 liberos there as well. So to me, the biggest jump is that Steve Aird has gotten these freshmen ready to go right away and gotten the team to gel right away. And it's paid off in a lot of wins. Again, the best Big Ten start in history. Indiana last week earned their highest ranking in program history at number 20. So they're doing an incredibly good job. And then when you look at what they're doing actually on the court, both sides of the ball, they're great. Offensively, I don't know if there's a team that runs a faster offense than what we're seeing right now from the Hoosiers. And that's leading to a basically 300 hit percentage, which is good for 3rd in the conference. It's insanely high. And then blocking wise, they're good defensively. They're digging in there. And I think it's been really fun to see this program that came in with not a lot of great expectations just completely exceed all of that.
Having a team that, they've dropped the first set in a couple of big matches. They dropped the first 2 at Miami. They lost the first ones at UCLA and USC. For such a young and new team, how impressive is it to just bounce back and win? I mean, they won 3 in a row to beat Miami, and then 3 in a row to beat UCLA and USC. They're just, how impressive as a young new team is that to accomplish?
Yeah, it's really impressive. And again, I think a lot of that is youth. Those games where you mentioned against Miami, against USC, UCLA, we're all on the road. So it's kind of, I think, the inexperience and the freshmen going on the road, playing in some crazy environments for the first time. But that response from what you see on the team has been impressive. You go to Miami. Miami is one of the toughest places to play in the country. It's a really small gym. It's really loud in there. Miami fans love to have fun. So going down 0-2 in that and coming back to win in 5 to start off the season for Indiana was really impressive to see those freshmen really come alive, and then do something pretty similar at USC and at UCLA, dropping the first set and coming back to win the next 3. I've been really impressed by the response from a lot of the freshmen on Indiana's team of, okay, maybe the first set doesn't go their way, or they're not starting a match the way that they had hoped, but they're responding and finishing it really well, which again, for a very young, inexperienced team has been really cool to see.
Indiana's done, when I was a student there, they kind of held a volleyball match prior to Hoosier Hysteria or Midnight Madness.
Yeah.
Now they're moving one up to Indianapolis for Gainbridge Fieldhouse against Purdue. They play for the Monon Spike, which I think is one of the few traveling trophies in college, in women's college volleyball. How big is this event for just the state of volleyball in Indiana?
Oh, it's so cool. I've been lucky to cover the Monon Spike Trophy game for the past 2 seasons, and it's been fun watching because, it's a series that's been historically dominated by Purdue because it's a team that's been ranked, consistently throughout the last 2 decades, essentially. So having Indiana now be a really good team, highest ranking in program history. The rankings aren't out this week yet, but I wouldn't expect them to fall out of the rankings. This would be the first time that Purdue and Indiana would meet as ranked opponents. It's never happened in history. So you add that layer of, okay, these are 2 really good teams competing. And then you add the layer of this game being played, in an 18,000 person capacity arena, which is really, really special. I remember when I first started hearing kind of rumblings about this match being played and they're looking at different arenas to play it in. It was so exciting because it shows the growth of the sport, not just in the country, but really specifically in Indiana. And, Indiana's a state where volleyball is so big among women. You think of Indiana, you think of basketball, but really on the women's side, it's all volleyball. Some of the best recruits and players in the country are coming out of this state. So it's really fun to see, the buy-in from both the Indiana and Purdue programs, as well as the Big Ten, to kind of move that match to a bigger arena because they know that a lot of people want to get a ticket to that game. And it's hard when you're playing at Purdue or at Indiana. They're smaller arenas. It's a big ticket to get. So it's cool that they're kind of opening it up to everyone.
Yeah, Wilkinson, the Wilkinson Arena seems really cool on TV with when the fans are there and right on top of you. Same with Purdue's Arena, the fans are right on top of you as well. Take us through the key matchups of that game on Indiana and Purdue and who has the edge there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to come down to whether Purdue can stop Indiana's fast offense. Purdue historically is one of the better defensive teams in the country. It's also a team that lost, 90% of their offensive production from last year. So the Boilers have done a really good job with, completely reprogramming this team, getting a lot of new faces in. And what they do really well is, they spread out their offense and they've got a really good outside attacker. So Kenna Woolard for Purdue is phenomenal. Indiana's really got to key in on her. But again, I think the biggest thing is, can Purdue slow down Indiana and then the speed of their offense? So, that comes down to whether Purdue is staying aggressive offensively, whether they can serve really tough, and how well the Hoosiers are passing. You can't really run a fast tempo offense and get the setter on the net if the pass isn't there. So those are some things that it could come down to. It's also really fun because these are two teams that they don't tip a lot. There's not a lot of off speeds. They're kind of like all out big girl volleyball, big swings, trying to thump the ball on the ground, which I think always makes for really exciting matchups.
Awesome. Emily, you're calling the game in Indianapolis. Tell our listeners where they can find it. I know it's a whiteout too, and hopefully some of them are making the trip up to Indy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of tickets been sold already, so it's fun. Yeah, the game is at 7 Eastern. It'll be on Big Ten Network. I'm excited to call it alongside Jack Kaiser, who is also actually from Indianapolis, and I'm from Bloomington. So, this is a rivalry that I grew up going to all the time. Again, I've been able to call it for the last 2 seasons, but I'm really excited. We have a great crew. I think it'll be a great atmosphere, at least from what I'm hearing in terms of ticket sales and all of that. And then again, the rankings aren't out, but this would be the first time in program history where both Indiana and Purdue are meeting up as ranked teams. So it's a really big match in terms of, implications as well, not just the massive rivalry.
I would love to see this be like an annual thing, either in Indianapolis or something around there, and have each team either alternate the home games, or I don't know if they do it in volleyball, but make it like a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Like a long weekend. But thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to watching you call the game on Thursday night on BTN, and enjoy it. It should be a great atmosphere in Indianapolis.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait. I'm itching to get down there. It'll be fun.
All right, that's Emily Ehman from College Volleyball analyst. Anything volleyball she covers. She is all over the globe covering volleyball, BTN, ESPN, Fox. And then we'll get Olympics are right around the corner too. So
it's crazy. It's coming fast.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.